Hello, listeners, and welcome to Boomerang. This is Team 4 bringing you the news from the West Lothian Courier, with permission, published on Thursday, 2nd of July 2026. And our readers today are Jackie, who has kindly prepared the Courier for this recording, so thanks go to her for that, Kate, Joan, and Joyce. And Harry is our recorder and copier. Our broadcast, as usual, will be in 4 parts. Part 1 and Part 2 will be general news this week because there are no family announcements. Part 3 will have more general news items and the quiz. And in Part 4 we will include the answers to the quiz and some news about local sport. Can I remind you that when you have finished with the recording, please put the memory stick back into the plastic wallet, turn over the address label and post it back to us here in Whitburn from a postbox and not the post office. Now, let's get started without further ado, and this is the lead story this week, and Kate.
Injured dog is found tied to radiator by Ross Thompson. A West Lothian man has been handed a 5-year ban after he failed to provide a suitable living environment for his 2 dogs. At Livingston Sheriff Court, Cadiz Mukadisi of Bathgate was also given a community payback order and ordered to carry out 90 hours of unpaid work due to him not providing necessary veterinary treatments and an adequate diet for his animals. In March 2024, Mukadisi contacted the Scottish SPCA Animal Helpline seeking to rehome the 2 dogs named Shadow and Bruno. The Scottish SPCA inspectors attended the property in West Lothian and were shown into the living room where the 2 dogs were being kept. The room had a foul smell, which the inspectors described as resembling rotten flesh. Tied to a radiator in the room was the Staffordshire Bull Terrier cross named Shadow. Mukadisi was asked to untie the dog, and once released, she immediately approached the inspectors. They observed a large wound on her neck where her collar had become embedded in the skin. When questioned about the wound on Shadow's neck, Mukadisi became defensive and stated that he had called a veterinary practice but could not afford treatment and had not sought treatment. Mukadisi then showed the inspectors his other dog Bruno, a male American bulldog. Bruno was being kept in a cage covered by a sheet. When the sheet was removed, he was observed inside a bare cage containing only a plastic tray littered with no bedding. After expressing their serious concerns about the welfare of both Shadow and Bruno, the inspectors informed Mukadisi that the dogs would be removed from the property. They were transported to a veterinary surgeon who determined that both dogs were in poor physical condition and Shadow required treatment for a large wound that Mukadisi had failed to meet their basic welfare needs. A Scottish SPCA inspector said Mukadisi failed to provide even the most basic standards of care for Shadow and Bruno. He also failed to seek necessary veterinary treatment for a significant wound on Shadow's neck, which had been caused by being tethered to a radiator with an ill-fitting collar. Both dogs were currently suffering, and I am extremely relieved that we were able to remove them from those conditions. No animal should have to endure such neglect, and thankfully Shadow and Bruno were able to receive the care and treatment they desperately needed.
Recycling Priority for Councillors by Ross Thompson. Reducing waste contamination is not only good for the environment, it also ensures that more public money can be directed towards the services that matter most to local communities. Improving recycling performance remains a key priority for West Lothian. Residents play a vital role by using their different coloured household bins correctly and ensuring materials are clean and suitable for recycling. To support this, the Council is investing in new machinery to reduce the amount of contaminated waste being sent to recycling partners for processing. This will help maximise the volume of high-quality recyclable material. Contaminated waste is any material or substance present in the bin which shouldn't be there. Food and liquid contamination are the main issues we face when dealing with recycling in West Lothian. The Council's new Caterpillar MH3022 will replace a previously hired material handler, providing greater efficiency and longer-term value for money. And the new CAT 930M front-loading shovel will provide improved loading capacity and increased turnaround times for loading of waste and recycled materials. All in all, both will reduce maintenance costs over the next few years, improve recycling, generate income, and ensure public money isn't spent on waste landfill costs. The new waste disposable equipment enables operators to clearly identify and manage the materials being loaded into waste and recycling trailers. This improves the quality of materials being sent for reprocessing, helping to increase the amount of waste successfully recycled and reduce running costs. Recycling facilities provide financial rebates to councils based on both the quantity and quality of recyclable material they receive. These funds are reinvested into local services, benefiting communities across West Lothian. By reducing contamination, the council can avoid recyclable loads being rejected and diverted to energy from waste plants, which is significantly more costly. Improving material quality will support higher recycling rates across West Lothian. Executive Councillor for Environment and Sustainability, Tom Conn, said, "This is another great example of the investment in plant and equipment for our waste disposal operation, bringing the most modern and best specification to the frontline operations." Picking up household bins is obviously one of the many critical parts in the waste and recycling process, but there are so many facets to the entire process. It is simple. The more you recycle, the more money is reinvested in your local services. The most critical part of this entire process is, however, the part each of us plays in placing the correct material in the correct bins, dry and clean. David Mall, Head of Operational Services for West Lothian Council, added, "Residents are perhaps not aware, but if contaminated materials are placed into a household bin, we need to pay to have those materials disposed of. However, if we are able to recycle the waste, we receive income from waste processors who recycle and repurpose waste. So the more we are able to recycle, the greater the financial return the council receives from the reprocessing of materials such as food, paper, cardboard, metals and plastics. This income is then reinvested directly into local services. We are very grateful to the households who are taking the time and effort to recycle their household waste correctly. Tens of thousands of households are recycling correctly and ensuring the correct materials are placed in the correct bins, clean and dry. This is helping to increase recycling. This investment in new machinery will also reduce our reliance on hired equipment, delivering savings over time. The new material handler, alongside our Caterpillar front-loading shovel, will improve loading speeds, reduce turnaround times for collection vehicles, and increase efficiency across our haulage operations. And there is a photograph here of one of their equipments. I think it must be the shovel bit. And then there are the operatives standing in front of the other piece of equipment, and they're wearing their high-vis vests and hard hats.
Article headed Energy Price Worry. West Lothian households are being reminded to submit meter readings to their energy supplier with the new off-gem price cap coming into force. Accurate readings will prevent suppliers from estimating usage and applying new, higher prices to energy consumed when prices were lower. The regulator Ofgem resets its cap on the amount suppliers can charge every 3 months. The latest change from £1,641 to £1,862 is a 13% rise on the current level and means the average dual fuel bill will increase by £221 per year. People who did not submit readings before June 30th should do so as close to the date as possible. Those with smart meters should ensure the device is working. Craig Tobin, Head of Business Development and Impact at Advice Direct Scotland, said, "July's price cap rise is one of the largest increases since the system was brought in 5 years ago and will pile on the pressure for thousands of already stretched households across Scotland." People can also take practical action by examining their bills, finding out how much they are paying, and checking if there are cheaper options available with other suppliers. Struggling customers should know they do not have to suffer in silence. Our expert team is here for anyone who needs help.
Woman's Fear After Bike Terror by Isla Story. A West Lothian woman has told of the frightening moment a car overtaking her bike too closely nearly knocked her flying on a country road. Cathy O'Hara, 69, was cycling along Brucefield Park West towards Livingston on Wednesday, June the 17th, when she was aware of 2 cars behind her. As a regular, almost daily user of the route, she knows it usually gets little traffic and never has any issues. However, as she rode onto a blind bend, she said the driver closest to her went for it. The driver behind thought was the exact opposite and flashed their hazards to thank her for letting them know they could pass her on a straight section. She told Edinburgh Live, "I'm always looking behind checking for cars, and I only wear one earbud so I can hear them. Most drivers are very polite. If they come up behind me, I move to the side of the road, which is sometimes perilous because the potholes are quite dodgy, so I'm dodging them to let people drive past. But I never expected this for a minute. I always give drivers signals letting them know it's safe to pass. I was coming up to this corner. I knew there was 2 cars behind me. I didn't move over or signal because I knew it was a blind corner, but the driver just went for it. I got the fright of my life. They were so close, I'm surprised their wing mirror never clipped my shoulder. They immediately went in front of me and I was so afraid my bike started to wobble and I thought I was going to come off. At my age, I'm not going to bounce, am I?" Although her ordeal left her shaken with 60 years of cycling experience, Cathy is insisting it will not put her off taking to the roads on her bike. She is now more keen than ever to urge drivers to be responsible when sharing space with cyclists. She adds, "Not only it was dangerous, it was illegal. And at my age, I don't want a broken hip. So I think I'll be investing in a camera for my bike now. I want drivers just to think. Imagine if it was a person on the bike was a member of your family. How much room would you give them? You wouldn't want anything to happen to them. I understand there's a lot of ignorant cyclists out there that hog the middle of the road, but don't tar us with all the same brush." Chief Superintendent Hilary Sloan, Head of Road Policing at Police Scotland, previously said that as part of the national safety campaign, every driver has the responsibility to safely overtake cyclists. Cyclists are vulnerable on the road, and drivers should be aware of how they can help reduce serious and fatal collisions. Police officers are out every day educating road users and carrying out enforcement, and we are part of a crucial partnership response to road safety.
Councillor voices her own climate concerns by Stuart Somerville. Excuse me. Europe is the fastest warming continent on Earth, West Lothian councillors heard this week. Conservative Alison Adamson raised the point at a meeting of the Environment and Sustainability, the PDSP, held on a blustery and showery Livingston day. Roisin Urquhart, a climate change officer with the council, delivered the quarterly climate change update to the meeting. The report detailed the European State of the Climate, the ESOTC report for 2025 has now been published, and it concludes that Europe is the fastest warming continent on Earth. Europe is warming at a rate more than twice as fast as the global average. It added, at least 95% of Europe experienced above average annual temperatures in 2025. Sub-Arctic Norway, Sweden and Finland recorded their worst heat wave on record, with 21 straight days and temperatures exceeding 30 degrees centigrade within the Arctic Circle. Councillor Adamson also suggested that while weather forecasts were more detailed, they were less accurate in the past and the weather more erratic. She acknowledged that West Lothian and Scotland were doing more to reduce climate damage, but added, I feel that those of us that are doing the right things are not getting any of the benefits, so it's frustrating. Councillor Susan Mannion, Labour, said, it's not just about the heat, it's about the extremities of both, more water and rain. We really need to be clear about what global emissions are. Anyone who has family further south of this country will know the impact it is having on them, with drought and extreme heat.
Winchborough Gala Day. There were a couple of pages with photographs of Winchborough Gala Day, which saw Queen Ella MacDonald crowned, assisted by her champion Adam Scott Telford. Pictures by Gary Baker. The parade was obviously led by a pipe band, followed by Winchborough and District Children's Gala Day poster with a crowd of people behind them, and also Winchborough Albion Youth Football Club were in the photograph as well. Then we saw the Queen Ella being crowned, and then she was walking underneath an arbour, I suppose it was, carrying her orb and wearing her crown. Hey. Spider-Man was also there, as were some mermaids, adults dressed as mermaids, and several photographs of little fairies. There was a lovely photograph of a young man with a rainbow-coloured bow tie and matching sunglasses, and a good day was had by all.
No comment, as long-serving councillor Robert DeBold registers as independent by Stuart Somerville. West Lothian's SNP opposition group has lost one of its longest-serving councillors. Robert DeBold, one of two SNP councillors in the Livingston North ward, is now listed as an independent, alongside former Labour councillor Andrew Maguire. Councillor DeBold was first elected 19 years ago in the ward, which covers Knightsbridge, Deans, Aileyburn, Carmondine and part of Livingston Village. The other SNP councillors for the ward is the also long-serving Andrew Miller. At the last council election in 2022, Councillor DeBold polled 2,133 votes. It was by far the highest percentage of first preference votes at 29.51%. Councillor DeBold has latterly served as the opposition's group spokesman on housing. No reason has yet been given for his decision to sit as an independent at the local democracy reporting services. They have contacted Councillor DeBold for comment. Contacted by the LDRS, the SNP group leader Broxburn councillor Janet Campbell said, I'm sorry, but I can only say no comment at this time. The SNP remains the largest single party in the council, with 14 councillors serving in 9 wards across the council. The council is currently a minority Labour-led administration, which has 11 councillors in a loose confidence and supply agreement with 4 Conservatives led by Damien Doran-Timson, and including Councillor Peter Heggie, who serves as the Deputy Provost. There is also 1 Lib Dem councillor and 1 Reform UK councillor. Other councillors in the North Livingston ward are Labour's Anne McMillan and the Conservative Alison Adamson.
Staff suffer abusive behaviour from patients in car park of medical centre. This is by Jacob Farr. Bosses at East Calder Medical Practice said staff have been abused by patients while using the car park. They took to social media to express their displeasure at the abusive behaviour and have hammered home they will take a zero-tolerance approach to such actions. Those at the medical practice also claim that both their staff and patient car parks are being misused. They said motorists are using the space for extended periods, including as a park and ride or as a long-stay car park when people travel on holiday. Those abusing staff around parking issues have been warned they could be struck off the practice list. In their statement on Facebook, they said, "We would like to make all patients aware that we have recently experienced a number of incidents involving abusive behaviour towards our staff in the front car park. Our team is here to provide care, support and assistance to all patients, and we expect everyone to be treated with respect and courtesy at all times. The front car park is for staff use only. To maximise the limited space available, staff members often need to block each other's vehicles. Any cars parked in this area without the appropriate permit may receive an NHS unauthorised parking sticker. Patients are encouraged to use the rear car park, which is designated for patient use. Please be aware that this car park is for unwell or infirm patients visiting the practice. Be considerate regarding this. Disabled parking spaces must only be used by blue badge holders and patients who genuinely require them. We are aware of ongoing misuse of both staff and patient parking areas, including vehicles being left for extended periods for park and ride purposes or even while travelling on holidays. These behaviours are monitored and will be addressed. Please also note that new signage will be installed in both car parks over the coming weeks to clearly outline parking arrangements and expectations. Abusive or aggressive behaviour towards our staff, whether verbal or physical, is unacceptable. This is in line with the NHS zero tolerance policy, and such behaviour will result in patients being removed from the practice list. Our staff are here to support you. We kindly ask for your cooperation in helping us maintain a safe, respectful and fair environment for everyone. Thank you for your understanding and continued support."
We have now come to the end of part 1, and in part 2 we will continue with more general news. Welcome to part 2. And the first story in this section will be read by Joan.
Local plan backed by councillors. West Lothian Council has backed redrawn proposals for submission to the Scottish Government for its new local development plan. A meeting of the full council revealed that the blueprint for the future of West Lothian will carry the fingerprints of current political divisions on housing and healthcare. And with council elections looming next May, the majority making the decision in the Livingston Chambers this week will be gone from office by the time the blueprint, which will be the bedrock of all planning decisions until 2038, comes into force. The first draft of what is known as an evidence report was returned to the Council earlier this year, with ministers saying it did not contain enough information. This happened to the majority of local authorities in Scotland. Changes in housing legislation, not least the removal of local connection, have seen a surge in homeless presentations to the council. Anyone from anywhere in the country can present as homeless in West Lothian, forcing the council to find accommodation. Before the law changed, an applicant had to demonstrate familial connections to the county. In a report to the council, Kate Hopper, the council's Development, Planning and Environment Manager, said, since the evidence report was returned to the council, the Scottish Government and the DPEA have produced a further advice note in February which sets out the approaches that councils can use in setting their indicative local housing requirements (IHLR). These are using updated figures on existing need and or new household projections and policy-driven uplifts supported by housing emergency declarations and LHS targets. The initial plan proposed 9,850 homes. The council heard that the new proposed total housing figure for the next 10 years will be 10,825 homes, built just over 1,000 a year. Other key changes will include a broader range of home styles, including more bungalows and an emphasis on the adaptability of homes to accommodate a changing and ageing population. In healthcare, the council will remain restricted to the provision of facilities such as extended or new buildings for GP practices or allied services. Craig McCorriskin, the head of planning, reminded councillors that the local authority and also the integration joint boards have no influence on staffing costs or provision in primary health care. These issues belong to NHS Scotland and the Scottish Government. Integration joint boards oversee the crossover services between NHS Scotland and primary health care, such as vaccines, as well as manage social care provision. Ms Hopper's report to the council, published earlier this month, stressed that despite the widespread problems of securing GP appointments, the fault is not one wholly of restricted spaces. Staffing is a revenue cost which has to be paid for by the NHS. GPs remain independent of the NHS. Ms Hopper said at 16 of the 20 GP practices in West Lothian, there is sufficient capacity to accommodate the anticipated growth in list size from current housing allocations. In 2 practices, there is clearly a requirement for additional capacity. These are East Calder and Ammond, while a further 2 practices, which are Linlithgow and Barraboch, require further investigation of service delivery and infrastructure availability to explore whether additional capacity is required.
Agreement on pupils' 7-week summer. West Lothian pupils will have a 7-week summer holiday next year, councillors have agreed. The extra week before the start of the 2027/28 school year creaks a creep backwards towards the start of August under a long-running holiday calendar. The new calendar also means that Easter holidays will come in the 2 weeks before Good Friday. In a report to the Education Executive, Hannah Hayward, a Customer Services Manager, told councillors that it was not possible to align holidays with neighbouring authorities despite many requests from parents. The report said, in October 2024, a survey was issued to pupils, teaching and non-teaching school staff, parents and carers. The survey was about the options for summer, October and February breaks. The most popular option for the survey was for 6 weeks in the summer, 1 week in October and 1 week in February. This pattern of holidays has been used since. But with a 6-week summer break each year, the start of the session was gradually getting earlier. So the proposal for the 27/28 session includes a 7-week summer break beforehand. This does not impact on the number of teaching days in the session. Among the schools which responded to a new consultation, pupils at Harrywood Muir Primary were in favour of the longer summer breaks to allow more time to enjoy the summer weather and the later start date in August, which would allow them to go to the Edinburgh Festival and Book Festival. The report that highlighted that some of the Linlithgow Academy Parents' Council expressed a concern that the longer summer breaks is not helpful for parents who need childcare or the children with additional support needs, as it is difficult to get back into the routine after a long break. The February week-long holiday has also been contentious since it was first introduced. Many parents find it difficult to take time off, and few families can afford holiday a month after the expense of Christmas season. The report added, those in favour felt that it was a tiring term for pupils and with week-long holidays was needed, but those against cited that poor weather, impact pupils undertaking exams, disruption to the routine for pupils with ASN. For some senior students too, the week break comes ahead of the crucial exam timetable. The new term dates for 2027-28 will be resume Wednesday the 18th of August, September weekend, Friday the 17th to Monday the 20th of September, October week, Monday 18th of October to Tuesday the 26th of October, Christmas holiday, Wednesday the 22nd of December to Wednesday 5th of January 2028, February half-term, Monday the 14th of February to Tuesday the 22nd of February, Easter, Monday the 3rd of April to Tuesday the 18th of April, May Day, Monday the 1st of May and Wednesday the 3rd of May. Local holidays, Bathgate Academy and feeder primary schools plus St Mary's Bathgate and St Columba's Primary School Bathgate will get procession day Monday the 5th of June. Linlithgow Academy and feeder primary schools plus Linlithgow Primary School, Linlithgow Marches on will get the day on Tuesday the 13th of June 2028.
Teacher has right stuff for prize-winning novel. Mr. Manna is proud author of critically acclaimed book by Ross Thompson. A West Lothian secondary school teacher from Broxburn has been celebrating the launch of his first award-winning novel. Fode Manna, who teaches English at James Young High School in Livingston, is the proud author of The Search for Othello Savage. The novel is loosely a crime novel which also seeks to explore wider themes such as the abuse of power, both religious and political, gender inequality, and the power of friendship. The narrative is set between Scotland and Sierra Leone, the countries Fode has lived in the most. The novel was published by Quercus Books in May 2025, with paperback edition coming out in April this year. The novel won the 2022 Mo Siweshran Prize and later went on to make the shortlist for the 2025 Bloody Scotland Debut Prize. Becoming a published author is no easy feat for Fode, with the process for The Search for Othello Savage taking a total of 10 years from the early drafts through to it hitting bookshelves. Even though with the summer holidays coming up, there's no rest for the teacher, who plans on spending his time working on his next story. And being an English teacher, he has some wise words of advice for any of his pupils who would like to follow in his footsteps and become a published author. He explained, read a lot, not just fiction, but also non-fiction and newspapers. If you want to become a writer, it is vital that you are also a reader and take in as much variety as possible. I'd also say you must be patient and persevere. It can take a long time, but the result is more than worth the effort. And there's a picture here of Mr. Manny in a black and white checked shirt. He looks as though he's standing in a library and he's holding in one hand the hardback copy of his book, The Search for Othello Savage, and also, on the other hand, the paperback copy.
An article by Stuart Somerville headed "School Change Will See Parents Have Their Say." Parents in villages east of Linlithgow will be asked in August if they want to send their children to Winchborough Academy. West Lothian's Education Executive backed proposals from education officers to launch a consultation at the start of the new school year. A report to the committee said that proposal to move from the Linlithgow Academy catchment area to that of one of West Lothian's newest secondaries had come from parents. The new secondary is a mile closer to villagers in Bridgend than Linlithgow Academy. The consultation will run from 24th August until 9th October. A public meeting is planned for 7th September in Bridgend Primary School. In a report to the executive, Andrew Cotton, a senior education planning officer, said the proposed changes respond to parental requests for change in the catchment boundaries and to build on the successful education linkages already established between Bridgend Primary School and Winchborough Primary School, including the joint headship and activities across the two school communities. The proposed area of change covers the entire Bridgend Primary School catchment and covers the villages of Bridgend, Phillipston and 3 Mile Town. It is currently located in the Linlithgow Academy catchment, and the proposal is to change to the Winchborough Academy catchment. There has been a stated community desire from some parents in 3 Mile Town and Bridgend to include the area within the Winchborough Academy catchment. The statutory consultation will allow the Council to understand if this desire is shared by a majority of parents across the catchment. There are 187 children in the area currently attending West Lothian schools. There will be no impact to pupils currently in attendance at West Lothian schools as a result of proposed variations to school catchment areas. All pupils currently attending secondary schools will continue to attend their existing school for the remainder of their education, if that is their wish. Mr. Cotton told the meeting that the results of the consultation would be brought back to a December meeting of the Education Executive for a decision. Responding to questions, he said that if a change was to take place, it could be in place for the start of the 2027-28 session. For the EIS Teaching Union local rep, Heather Hughes, asked what effect this would have on staffing levels at Linlithgow. Mr. Cotton said that the annual numbers would be around 20, which would have no effect on required staffing for the town's high school. Answering a question from the chair of the committee, Councillor Andrew Maguire, Mr. Cotton said that the proposal had come from parents, not education officials, adding that there was adequate capacity at both high schools. The first students attended Winchborough Academy in August 2022. The school was initially planned for a roll of 660 to attend, but has a design capacity to increase to accommodate 1,210 pupils. It shares a campus ground and facilities with the RC High School, Sinclair Academy, developed as part of a $60 million investment in the rapidly expanding village.
Award Delight for Renowned Teacher. Arnold recognised for diversity and equality work by Ross Thompson. A West Lothian teacher has been recognised for his anti-racism work. Bathgate Academy's Arnold Casa has been honoured at a national awards event for recognising those who have challenged discrimination. The French and Spanish teacher received a highly commended award at the Harald Sajo Lal Awards 2026, which celebrates the work of teachers who promote and facilitate a culture and ethos of equality and diversity. The awards are named in honour of Suraj Lal, a trailblazing teacher, race relations campaigner and community activist who worked at the forefront of multicultural and anti-racist education in its early years, laying the foundations for many others to build on. Originally from Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo, Arnold also lived in Prague, Czech Republic, where he experienced racism firsthand. Those experiences shaped his determination to challenge discrimination and help make anti-racist education the norm across Scottish education. He moved to Scotland in 2019 and joined West Lothian Council in 2021, where he led and supported a range of equality and diversity initiatives at both Peel Primary in Livingston and Calderwood Primary in East Calder before joining Bathgate Academy. Throughout his teaching career, Mr. Kaza has been driven by a commitment to ensuring every learner feels represented, respected and valued. His work helped embody anti-racism practice into everyday school life and encourage meaningful conversations around identity, inclusion and representation. The father of one is also a semi-professional footballer with Gala Ferrydean Rovers in the Lowland League and is actively involved with Afro-Scots United FC, a community organisation that provides young people from ethnic minority and all backgrounds with opportunities to stay active, improve their well-being and build friendships through sport. Arnold Casa said, "I am truly delighted to have received this commendation in recognition of the equality and diversity work I have been doing both in education and with the wider community. It motivates me even more to continue building communities that are race-aware, inclusive and reflective of the people's experience of colour." The commendation reassures me that the work being carried out is making a meaningful impact, and for that I am incredibly grateful. Vinti Lal, son of Sarjo Lal, and award panellists said, "It was a delight to meet Arnold, and the judging panel were incredibly impressed by his journey and the path he continues to forge. He embodies all of the core values and principles that the award seeks to recognise and is a deserving recipient of the highly commended certificate. In an increasingly challenging world and political climate, and especially in the light of recent events in Scotland, Arnold is a beacon of hope and his work is ever more important." And this article has a picture of Arnold with some pupils smiling and very happy at receiving his award.
Father's Day competition winner. Paul claims makeover prize at centre. A West Lothian dad has claimed a Father's Day makeover worth £500 courtesy of the Centre Livingston. Paul Murray claimed the top prize following a beautifully penned nomination by his daughter Danielle, who has just welcomed a baby girl into the world. Every year, the shopping centre is inundated with heartfelt nominations, always making it difficult for the management team to choose a winner. However, this year, Danielle's story really stood out as she talked about the wonderful support she has received from her dad during her pregnancy. She said, "My dad is genuinely one of the most supportive and kind people I've ever known, especially over the last few months when he's taken me to my hospital appointments, and before then when I was studying. It was a very proud moment for him at my graduation last September, and my mum too." She also highlighted how winning the Father's Day prize would be a great way for her to say a huge thank you for everything he's done throughout her life. Paul's wife Sharon joined him on his makeover and pampering day, which included a personal shopping experience with local stylist Lee Maybury and a £150 gift card for an outfit of his choice, plus lots of gifts from a selection of retailers. With his son's engagement celebration coming up and lots of photos planned with his new granddaughter, he decided to spend his gift card on a new outfit from River Island: jeans, a t-shirt and a very stylish green jacket, with the help of Lee, who gave Paul lots of tips on creating a capsule wardrobe and mixing and matching throughout the seasons. Next up was a visit to the stores, who treated him with various gifts, including Lush, who also gave him a hand and arm massage, and Menkind, who presented him with a goodie bag, which included a dad's joke book. Starbucks also gifted Paul with a coffee and treats hamper, and bakers and baristas gave him a box of 6 delicious muffins. His prize also included a skin care consultation and lots of gifts from Boots, including a selection of No. 7 skincare products, a shaver and an electric toothbrush, and he also received a voucher for a haircut at 3 Extra. The special day culminated with a complimentary lunch for 2 at Nando's, which is one of Paul's favourite restaurants. Patrick Robertsi, Centre Director at the Centre Livingston, said, "It was lovely to welcome Paul and his family into the shopping centre to enjoy his well-deserved Father's Day pampering prize, following the lovely nomination by his daughter Danielle, who was full of praise for him and all the support he has given her during her pregnancy. Congratulations from everyone at the Centre Livingston to Danielle on the arrival of her daughter." Paul said, "Huge thank you to everyone at the Centre Livingston for making my day really special. I was blown away when I'd heard I'd won. It really was such a lovely surprise." And there's lots of photographs of Paul in the various shops and receiving his goodies. And there's also him trying on his new green jacket at River Island, and standing outside River Island with the carrier bag, bright yellow carrier bag with River Island on it, and he's looking very pleased with himself. I think he's enjoyed his day.
We have now come to the end of part 2, and in part 3 we will begin with the quiz. Welcome to part 3, and we will start with this week's quiz. There'll be 10 questions today. Question 1. From which country did the dish beef stroganoff originate? Was it Russia, Poland, or Germany? Question 2. With which sport is the term Cruyff turn associated? Cruyff has a capital C, turn has a capital T. Is that sport football, ice hockey, or skiing? Question 3. What nationality is former motor racing driver Jody Scheckter? Is he Austrian, South African, or German? Question 4. What type of creature is a coastal taipan? Is it a shark, a bird, or a snake? Question 5. In which sport do North American teams compete for the Stanley Cup? Is it basketball, ice hockey, or baseball? Question 6. Autoplasty is cosmetic surgery on which part of the body? Is it lip, stomach, or ear? Question 7. On which Mediterranean island is the port of Messina? Is that island Sicily, Malta, or Corsica? Question 8. With which sport is the Venus rosewater dish associated? Is it bowls, tennis, or football? Question 9. What is the first name of the character in Friends played by Courtney Cox? Is it Phoebe, Monica, or Rachel? And last of all, question 10. Santa Fe is the capital of which American state? Nevada, New Mexico, or Louisiana? So there's the quiz this week, a wee bit longer than usual. However, I'm sure you'll do well. And now we'll go on with more general news and Joan.
An article by Ross Thompson headed "Awesome Adam wins Top Education Award. Five Sisters Zoo is celebrating after its Head of Education, Adam Welsh, was named the recipient of the Rising Star Award by the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums, that's BIAZE. The award, presented as part of BIAZA's annual awards programme, recognises exceptional emerging leaders who are making a significant impact within the zoo and aquarium sector. Often referred to as the Oscars of the zoo world, the awards celebrate the outstanding work being carried out by the UK's and Ireland's leading zoos and aquariums to create a wilder world and a better planet. Adam was recognised for his outstanding contribution to education and conservation engagement at Five Sisters Zoo. Since taking on the role of Head of Education, he has helped expand the zoo's educational offering, inspiring thousands of visitors and school pupils to learn more about wildlife conservation, animal welfare and environmental sustainability. His passion, innovation and commitment to connecting people with nature have made a lasting impact on both visitors and colleagues. The award highlights the important role education plays in connecting people with nature and inspiring action for conservation. Adam's recognition reflects both his personal commitment to this mission and Five Sisters Zoo's ongoing efforts to engage audience of all ages with the natural world. BIAZA members, zoos and aquariums such as Five Sisters Zoo have contributed over £150 million to conservation over the past 5 years. CEO of BIAZA, Dr. Joe Judge, said, "This is an incredible achievement reflecting the very best in the zoo and aquarium community. We're at the very forefront of the fight back for nature, which needs all our help. As leaders, we are absolutely committed to the very highest levels of animal welfare, conservation, education and research, all while offering brilliant days out for the family." And there's a photograph of Adam being handed his award, which is a star-shaped plaque.
Traffic signal study is planned. West Lothian could see priority traffic signals opening the road ahead for buses on some of its busiest streets. A study is planned as part of a new funding package to improve bus services throughout the county. Almost 400,000 has been awarded to the council from the National Bus Infrastructure Fund to improve services and public transport infrastructure in the county. The money will largely pay for infrastructure improvements, including digitising bus stops, but the priority signalling, usually used in cities, could help speed up journeys through built up areas in West Lothian towns. Councillors on the Environmental and Sustainability, the PDSP, heard that the new funding could build on research already carried out on ways of giving buses priority over other vehicles at lights. A report to the committee said the assessment confirms that bus priority had the potential to improve journey time reliability by reducing delays at traffic signals, although the benefits are dependent on local conditions and may be less pronounced than in more urbanised networks. The report added, "A key outcome of the study is that bus priority can be technically delivered without a UTC, which is Urban Traffic Control System, through a remote priority approach. Traffic lights would give priority to buses and other vehicles. In large city schemes, an electronic network controls consecutive road signals, allowing buses priority travel through the length of the route through multiple traffic lights. A scheme is impractical in the more rural West Lothian, but several sites have been identified by drivers where a green light for buses would speed up journeys through urban centres. This would be done through a modified traffic light control system at specified junction. The sites identified for the further study include Whitburn Cross, East Calder Main Street and Blackburn Cross."
Pool is drained as discussions on future go on, and this is by Stuart Somerville. Armadale Pool is to be drained as a safety measure, councillors in West Lothian agreed. The drainage, which could take up to 3 months to secure, will see the running costs for the building brought down from £10,000 a month to £7,500. And the council has pledged to work with a fledgling community campaign which wants to see the pool reopened 3 years after it was shuttered by West Lothian Leisure to save money. A key change from a meeting in March, which had tabled the consultation on the building's future, suggested that drainage would cost around £500 and could be done without causing damage to infrastructure. An eventual refill of the pool would cost slightly less, a senior council officer confirmed. Reopening the pool was the key demand of the campaign. Gillian Dunnigan, the chair of the Jim Sibbald Community Pool Group, told a meeting of the council's executive that more than 5,000 people had now signed a petition to save the pool from permanent closure. The petition requests that West Lothian Council fully considers the strength of community support, the importance of the asset to the local area, and all viable options for retention, reopening, partnership or sustainable future community use before any irreversible decision is taken. Ms. Dunnigan argued that the pool provided access to exercise and active life skills that were needed in a town which faced significant social disadvantage. Answering a question from Conservative Group leader Councillor Damien Doran-Timpson, she said that the facility would be much more difficult to rebuild than to be protected in the first place. The council executive agreed in March to statutory 8-week consultation on the future of the building, given that it is a common good property. A lengthy negotiation with Armadale Thistle FC, which had wanted to take on the ownership, had foundered. New impetus to save the pool was launched by the SNP Group. It had supported shuttering in 2023, offering no alternative to West Lothian Leisure's plans to shut the pool along with pools in Livingston and Broxburn. While the party initially called for delays and a full cost-benefit analysis of the closures, they voted in favour of the final proposals. This was done to prevent the insolvency of the entire West Lothian Leisure Excite Trust, which would have forced the closure of all leisure facilities in the area. Ms. Dunnigan said that few in Armadale had been consulted in the run-up to the closure, and this was why support for a now non-political campaign to save the pool had garnered such support. Scott Hughes, the council's strategic property asset manager, said in his latest report, "There has been significant public interest in this consultation and, having considered all the representations received through the various means set out above, officers consider that the vast majority of respondents wish to see the swimming pool facilities reopened, with the main drivers being improved physical and mental health and well-being, community cohesion, and a generally held perception that Armadale has suffered from a lack of investment and an erosion of services and facilities in recent years." The report added, "Officers from the Community Wealth Building Team have sought to bring together and coordinate those interests, and a community-led steering group has now been formed. It has begun work to establish governance arrangements and potential legal structures and is actively working to explore a viable community-led operating model for the swimming pool. Officers from Property Services and the Community Wealth Building Team have supported the steering group with any queries to date and have committed to providing sight of any building-related information held by the Council should proposals progress." Independent Councillor Andrew Maguire congratulated the campaigners on their efforts. Addressing Ms. Dunnigan, he said, "You and the campaign team have done sterling work and consciously tried to make it apolitical, and that's to your credit. Turning the matters at hand, it's unfortunate that at the financial situation that the council is in, that it had to make the difficult decision to close the Jim Sibbald swimming pool. I'm the 5th generation of my family to have lived in Armadale, and I have never known anything like this in the town. This is a real, genuine, live issue. It's not just about the swimming pool, but it's about decimation of public services as the result of public sector squeezes. We are here to listen to the views of the people who have brought us here. My hope is that we can work together to find a solution.
Jousting event hailed as great success by HES. Jousting returned to West Lothian at the weekend as part of an event featuring a range of medieval-themed experiences for visitors. Historic Scotland's annual spectacular jousting saw the thundering of hooves and clash of lances as 4 knights battled to become the tournament champion. The jousting arena was set up in the shadow of Linlithgow Palace, jousters calling themselves names such as Sir Checkmate Fitzpercy and Sir Archibald Douglas put on 2 shows of the extreme Middle Ages sport. The jousting is put on by Historic Environment Scotland, HES, every year, with visitors also enjoying falconry displays and historic reenactments. Some reenactments portrayed the reign of King Robert the Bruce, while children were able to take part in medieval-themed crafting and meet the horses. Kit Reid, Head of Experiences at HES, said, "Spectacular jousting is one of our best-loved family-friendly events, and visitors have enjoyed feeling as though they have been transported back to the Middle Ages under the backdrop of Linlithgow Palace. Out in the wonderful sunshine, visitors have experienced exhilarating horsemanship and medieval hijinks with a colourful line-up of daring competitors and their noble steeds." And there's a very colourful photo showing a crowd of people, and as the advert says, it's been a lovely day. They're all in T-shirts, watching 2 knights jousting. One is on a white horse. They're both covered in armour, helmets, shields, and one of them is obviously Sir Checkmate Fitzpercy, because his horse has a checkmate, looks like a quilt on its back, and they've got their lances, and the crowd are obviously enjoying themselves.
Residents soak up sunshine at home summer barbecue. Residents, families and staff at Woodlands Nursing Home soaked up the glorious sunshine at their recent summer barbecue. It was a wonderful afternoon of togetherness, filled with delicious food, fantastic live entertainment from a guest singer who had everyone singing and dancing. The event also featured a thrilling raffle, raising spirits across the home. A huge thank you goes out to all staff, families and local communities for making it such a memorable and joyous day. And this piece has got 5 huge photographs with it to show how everybody is in fact having a fabulous time. There's 5 firemen with some of the residents who have got flower garlands round them. There's some gentlemen supping their iron brew cans. We have a young lady who's got her face painted. She's looking very serene in a pink bluey outfit. And we have a lady in a wheelchair with a beautiful backdrop of the flowers and all the festivities that are going on with her green and red garland. And there's one last photograph which is from the air, and it shows about 5 different gazebos with lots of activities under them and lots of flowers and trees, and it looks like a lot of festivities happening.
Retailer to open huge new store. JD Sports is set to open its largest store in Scotland at the Centre, Livingston, this summer. The retailer, which has over 350 stores across the UK, currently has a 9,500 square feet store at the Centre, Livingston, which is one of the largest shopping centres in the country, with a wide range of over 150 places to shop and eat, and visited by over 15.8 million visitors a year. and also is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. The original store opened in 2008, and due to increased customer demand, the company is upsizing and relocating closer to the main entrance, with an expected opening date in July and a celebratory lunch with a host of competitions and a DJ to mark the opening. The current store will trade as normal until the new opening of their larger premises. Since acquiring the shopping centre over 2 years ago, LCP UK, part of MCOR, one of Europe's leading privately owned commercial property development and management companies, has welcomed various global brands. These include Starbucks, Wingstop, Miniso, Sawstring Green, Flying Tiger, and the first Arrowheads store in Scotland. The countdown is also on for the expansion into the leisure sector, with the opening of Hollywood Bowl later this year, featuring 22 lanes, an arcade, and a bar and diner. Simon Etov, director at LCP, part of MCOR and asset manager to the centre, Livingston, said, "This is an exciting year for us as we look forward to brands like JD Sports upsizing and relocating, and our move into leisure with the opening of Hollywood Bowl. Since we acquired the shopping centre over 2 years ago, our mission, which continues today, is to attract a broad range of new global brands to ensure all our visitors have a great choice of places to shop and dine out."
Article by Ross Thompson headed "Incredible Recovery Amazes Vet." A 12-year-old basset hound has made a remarkable recovery after undergoing emergency life-saving surgery. Tracy and Peter Waddell from Linlithgow adopted Sherman from Basset Rescue Network GB. They absolutely adore him, describing him as a cheeky and loving natured dog. After taking Sherman for his usual walk, they noticed something was wrong. He began struggling to walk and they could see his abdomen swelling rapidly. Tracy and Peter immediately realised that something was wrong and rushed him to the vets. Veterinary surgeon Matthew Erskine is an advanced practitioner in small animal surgery and is one of the senior vets at Westport Vets in Linlithgow. Matthew was working when they brought Sherman in for an emergency appointment. Vet Matthew said, on examination his heart rate was very high and his abdomen was large and painful. X-rays were taken of the abdomen after providing pain relief and starting him on intravenous fluids, which showed a very large gas and food-filled stomach which had twisted on itself. This instantly became an emergency situation as gastric dilation volvus, which is enlargement and twisting of the stomach, is fatal if not treated promptly. Gastric dilation volvus, GDV, occurs when the stomach fills with gas and twists, trapping pressure inside and cutting off blood flow to vital organs. Without emergency surgery, survival is unlikely. Matthew said, "We anaesthetised him quickly and tried to relieve the gas build-up with a tube down his esophagus, but the stomach was so twisted it couldn't be passed, and so we had to place an emergency needle access directly into his stomach to relieve the pressure on his internal organs. In the operating theatre, we were able to derotate the stomach and pass a gastric tube. However, the stomach was still so full of food that we couldn't remove it all via this method. We therefore had to perform an incision into the stomach and directly drain it through this before closing this up and then stitching it to the body wall to prevent future twisting." Although he had made it through the surgery, Sherman was not out of the woods. His recovery was high risk for complications. Registered veterinary nurse Susan Tennant took care of Sherman in recovery. RVN Susan said, "There was a lot going on with poor Sherman. He'd gone through some really drastic surgery. Recovery was critical period. It was vital that he was monitored really closely. He was on constant observation, so I sat in the kennels with him. He was pretty unaware of what was going on around him for the first part of his recovery, so it was really important we took things slowly and didn't give him a fright when he was coming back round. He was hooked up to a lot of multi-parameter machines as well as fluid pumps to give him medications as well as lots of fluids. During the night, we did further tests and performed an ultrasound scan to make sure there were no post-operative complications. We routinely changed his positions and assisted him with bladder relief. Close monitoring of his pain levels using pain scoring was done throughout to ensure that his pain relief was both maintained and adequate. We monitored everything continually throughout his stay, maintaining stress-free care and interactions with lots of reassurance. He knew that we were trying to help him. After 2 days and 2 nights with the Westport team, Sherman was discharged to continue his recovery at home. Tracy said we didn't think he was going to make it initially as he refused to eat for a couple of days. We had a few trips back and forward to Westport vets, but thankfully he started to eat again. If you think there is something wrong with your animal, go with your gut instinct. You know your dog and what is usual and unusual. And there's a photograph of Sherman with a typical Basset face, looking very baleful, but I'm sure he's extremely happy.
We have come to the end of part 3, and in part 4, some local sports news will be included, as well as the answers to the quiz and perhaps items from the summer issue of the Council Bulletin. Welcome to part 4, and we will begin with the answers to the quiz. Question 1. From which country did the dish beef stroganoff originate? The choices were Russia, Poland or Germany, and the answer was Russia. With which sport is the term Cruyff turn associated? The choices were football, ice hockey or skiing, and it is football, named after Cruyff, famous footballer. What nationality is former motor racing driver Jody Scheckter? He was South African. What type of creature is a coastal taipan? The choices were shark, bird or snake. The answer is snake. In which sport do North American teams compete for the Stanley Cup? Was it basketball, ice hockey or baseball? It is ice hockey. Otoplasty is cosmetic surgery on which part of the body? And that is the ear. On which Mediterranean island is the port of Messina? Was it Sicily, Malta or Corsica? And it is Sicily. With which sport is the Venus rosewater dish associated? The choices were bowls, tennis and football, and the answer is tennis. What is the first name of the character in Friends, played by Courtney Cox? The choices were Phoebe, Monica or Rachel, and it is Monica. And last of all, Santa Fe is the capital of which American state? That would be New Mexico. Well, I hope you all did well in that quiz today. Some challenging questions there, but I'm sure you could rise above that. And we'll go back now to sports news and Kate.
World Cup woe for Dykes as Scots out by Paul Thompson. Former Livingston striker Lyndon Dykes saw his World Cup journey come to a disappointing end as Scotland crashed out of the tournament at the group stage once again. The national side was bidding to make history by becoming the first ever Scotland team to reach the knockout stages of a major tournament. But last Wednesday, 3-0 defeat to Brazil proved fatal and left the Scots outside of the top 8 third-place sides that qualified for the round of 32. Scotland finished 11th out of 12 third-place teams, ensuring an early flight home and, in the days that followed the loss in Miami, the resignation of boss Steve Clarke. Dykes was unused substitute against Brazil, having featured from the bench in the previous clashes against Morocco and Haiti. Individual errors cost Steve Clarke's side dear against Brazil, with Scott McKenna and skipper Andy Robertson gifting the Zambia Stars possession in the build-up to their first 2 goals of a 3-0 defeat in Miami that left them clinging on to slim hopes of qualifying, before they quickly tumbled down the table of their top 8 best placed third places sides, which were eliminated. The now former Scotland boss was left frustrated with his players for giving Brazil the game they wanted and conceding for sure we are going home in his post-match interview after watching Vince Jr. twice benefit from Scotland's errors to bag a first-half brace before Matthias Cunha's effort on the hour mark sealed the win. And speaking after his resignation, Clarke, who had signed a new 4-year contract before the tournament, said, "What I wanted to make sure was that when I left, it was time to step away. It was time to step away. I always had in my head that if we didn't come out of the group stage, which is something that we've tried to do across 3 tournaments now, I always had in my head that if it didn't happen then, it was probably the right time to step away. Obviously, if we'd managed to get that extra point and got out of the group, then I'd probably have stayed on and tried to do another tournament. In some respects, it was easy, in brackets, decision, because I already had in my head what I wanted to achieve as a head coach. I'd also ticked all the boxes. My lifelong ambition was to do a World Cup with my country. I've done that, so not a bad time to step aside." And this goes along with player Lyndon Dykes being gutted as Scotland are out of the tournament after a 3rd place finish. And he's in a tournament, he's in the arena, still on the sports field in his Scotland strip, but looking quite dejected at the outcome of the game.
Legend Scott lands testimonial by Paul Thompson. Livingston has announced a testimonial match for club legend Scott Pittman, and the club's sporting director David Martindale says the midfielder is pound for pound one of the best signings the club has ever made. The Lions will welcome Hearts, the club he made his Livy debut against back in 2015, to Almond Vale on Friday, July the 10th, to celebrate the local lads' service to the Lions over the last 11 years. Pittman is the club's record appearance holder and has helped them to promotions, a League One title and Challenge Cup wins along the way. And Martindale said, "What an incredible servant to LFC, who has 100% earned this. A local lad who has broken a few club records along the way. He was very loyal to the club in previous relegation seasons when he had other opportunities to leave. I hope we can make this a special night for Scott and his family. Pound for pound, one of the best signings the club has ever made." A club statement read, "Everyone at the club would like to place on record our sincere thanks to Heart of Midlothian for agreeing to take part in the occasion. The fixture will provide valuable preparation for both clubs ahead of the new season with our Premier Sports Cup campaign and Hearts European qualifiers just around the corner. The evening will also provide an opportunity for supporters, teammates, former players, sponsors and friends to come together and celebrate one of the club's true greats. Now embarking on his 13th season at Livingston Football Club, Scott's contribution to the Lions has been nothing short of remarkable. From his arrival in 2015, in which he made his debut against his testimonial opponents, to becoming our all-time record appearance holder, his loyalty, consistency and commitment have made him a hugely respected figure both on and off the pitch. We look forward to welcoming supporters to Almond Vale for what promises to be a special evening as we celebrate and recognise the outstanding contribution of a true Livingston legend. The clash on July the 10th is a 7:45 p.m. kick-off. Tickets priced at £10 for adults and £5 for under 16s, can be purchased from the club website. Hospitality is also available.
Article headed Russell ends long wait for trophy at race wall. What a week it has been for fans of Brisca F2 stock cars in Scotland. Some of the top names in the formula have joined Scotland's elite as the drivers chase down all-important World Championship qualifying points. Wednesday night was the second stock car meeting of the year at Knockhill, where Steve Burgoyne took the Supreme Championship final. There was no shortage of action or incident at Crimond Raceway on Saturday evening. Charlie Gunchard was crowned the Challenge Trophy champion. Sunday afternoon was a day to remember for Micah Miller as he took both the Scottish Championship and Dennis Midler Senior Memorial trophies home with him. It wasn't all about the Brisca F2 racing though, and Sunday afternoon's meeting at Cowdenbeath also included the Scottish Championship for saloon stock cars. Barry Russell finally got his hands on the trophy that he'd been trying to win since he joined the formula from the Ministocks. The weather was overall 3 days of racing, helped to ensure a fast track with lots of grip, although the drivers might have preferred it to be a tad cooler. Jordan Cassie, Armadale, finished in third place in the Saloon Stock Cars Scottish Championship, despite having started towards the rear of the grid. Owen Marshall, Blackridge, had his best meeting so far in the saloons with 2 seventh places in the all-comers heats. There was another large group of local drivers in the Prostock Basics. In Heat 1, John Payton, Polbeth, was 4th, Josh Patterson, West Calder, was 6th, Terry Curran, Polbeth, was 7th, and Greg Fraser, Addywell, was 9th. Heat 2 brought a second place for Payton, 5th for Barry Jackman, Livingston, 6th for Fraser, and 7th for Joanne Hilditch, Hart Hill. Mark Battleman, Polbeth, was the runner-up in Heat 3, Curran was 5th, Jackman was 6th, and Patterson was 8th. Fraser was the top finisher in the final in 3rd. Jackman was 5th. The next action at the race wall is not until Saturday 1st August, when the annual Caravan Carnage with Van Bangers takes place.
We have a host of pictures from Whitburn Gala Day, which was actually on the 27th of June, so that was last Saturday. And we'll be pleased to tell you that it did not rain, which meant that everybody thoroughly enjoyed their day. And some of the pictures are amazing because we have Whitburn Primary School and their banner is, and I think their theme must have been World Cup, because we have 20 or 30 youngsters all in football, in Scottish football outfits with their blue shorts and their red tops. We have pupils from Polkemmet Primary School, and they are holding the huge red banner, which has got the emblem of the school on it. We have Croftmalloch Primary School, and if you know anything about animation, they are Pokemons, and they're the yellow-clad little animals, and they've got huge big heads with lovely ears, and they are quite a character. Then Mario Kart at St Joseph Primary School, and these are all the little Mario drivers, and some of the teachers are there as well with the drivers and their bright green caps and their blue dungarees. We also have pictures of the Rainbow Fairies with their most beautifully coloured dresses, and these are primary school youngsters, and they've got pinks and blues and greens and purples, and they're frilly white socks, and most of them have a white posy, have got their hair up with garlands of flowers in their hair. We have pictures of the ladies in waiting, and these look slightly older young ladies, and they've got full-length gowns on. Again, lilacs, tangerines, orange, and all looking exceptionally beautiful. Then we have the fairies in their white outfits, and we have a picture of the queen, the Gallaudet queen, and she is the most beautiful young lady with her crown, her hair up, and her purple velvet robe. And just because all the Gallaudets always have some musical instruments, we have one of the brass bands in their red and black outfits, and we have the Army Corps leading the procession with the banner which says Whitburn Civic Gala, and a great day was had by all.
Well, it's picture time, and this is the heading on a double-page spread. Supporters of 48 World Cup final teams show their true colours. And there's 48 photographs of supporters in their colours. And I'm not going to describe every one, but I'll pick out a few. Uruguay, face painted white with horizontal blue stripes and a big top hat, blue top hat with Uruguay written on it. Here we have Australia. This young man has got a kangaroo on his head. There we are. And further down, what have we got here? Oh, here's Sweden. We've got 4 Vikings with Viking helmets on in yellow and blue, and they're looking very happy. Over here we have Switzerland. Guess what? A piece of cheese on his head, representing his country. And on we go. Here's England. 2 gentlemen dressed as knights with the English flag made as a tunic for each of them, looking very smart. And who's in the middle here? Why? It's a Scotland supporter, and he's wearing a busby and the red Scotland strip, and he's got his kilt on, and he's holding what looks like a balloon replica of the World Cup. But my favourite of all, there's a wee tootsie down here. He looks about 2.5 years old, and just to give you a clue, he's wearing a sombrero. And guess what? Yes, he's a Mexican. He's Mexico supporter. And he's ever so sweet. But as I say, there's 48 of them.
This is an article from Connect magazine by the charity, the School Bank West Lothian. It's headed, Help Fill a Bag, Change a Child's Start to the School Year. This summer, one simple act of kindness could transform how a child feels walking into school. As families across West Lothian begin to think about the new school term, for many children the excitement of starting fresh is overshadowed by worry. The cost of school uniforms and everyday essentials can be overwhelming, and for some families, simply having the basics isn't guaranteed. That's where the School Bank West Lothian's Fill a Bag initiative is making a real difference. The idea is beautifully simple. Supporters are asked to fill a carrier bag with everyday essentials that many of us take for granted, but which can make a huge difference to a child preparing for school and help them start the year with confidence, dignity, and a sense of belonging. Brand new items needed include socks, black, grey or white, no knee-length styles, tights, 15 denier black for teenagers or black-grey for primary-aged children, white polo shirts 5 to 13 years old, a reusable water bottle, toiletries such as shower gel, shampoo or conditioner, toothbrushes, toothpaste and deodorant. Without these essentials, some children can feel different, excluded or unable to fully take part in school life. One local referrer shared the difference the support can make. The children no longer felt embarrassed at school or when joining after-school clubs. Their confidence soared before they did not attend anything. The parents' worries were eased about their child, and this helped build a positive, trusting relationship with the school. This is what a school clothing pack can do. It gives young people the confidence to attend school and take part. It helps remove feelings of embarrassment or isolation. It supports families, easing pressure and strengthening relationships with schools. Put simply, providing essential items doesn't just meet a practical need, it opens the door to confidence, participation and belonging. How to get involved. Taking part couldn't be simpler. Pick up a carrier bag, fill it with the suggested items, drop it off at the School Bank West Lothian office in Livingston or at one of their red drop-off points across the area. You can find your nearest location at schoolbank-westlothian.org/drop-off-points. With the summer holidays here, now is the perfect time to get involved and help ensure every local child starts the new school year feeling ready, included and supported.
This article has been taken from the West Lothian Bulletin. Schools take part in Swift Conservation Project. 3 West Lothian schools, Winchborough Academy, Sinclair Academy and Calderwood Primary, have been fitted with 10 Swift boxes each and a calling device to help attract those migratory species to use them for nesting. The Swift boxes are made from fully recyclable and durable polymer and weigh less than 1.5 kilograms each. Swifts are protected and the boxes will help support swifts by providing a nesting space for the species. A lack of nesting sites due to modern building practices is known to be a factor in their decline. The project will see participating schools actively engage with their new asset and monitor them. Schools will be able to add to the data set on Swift Mapper, an RSPB conservation mapping tool, and use the boxes and records as a tool to deliver learning for sustainability within the curriculum. Councillor Tom Conn met the pupils at Winchborough School campus to learn about the project. And there's a photograph here with 13 pupils, Councillor Conn and several members of staff. And the pupils are holding one of the boxes, which looks just slightly larger than a shoebox. And they're presenting this very proudly that they're taking part in this new project.
Again, another article from the Bulletin. Transfer of former nursery site for new music hub. A former nursery in Bathgate is set to become a new centre for music in the town. West Lothian Council's Asset Transfer Committee unanimously agreed the transfer of the former Bathgate West Nursery building to Bathgate Band. Bathgate Band are proposing to turn the Milburn Road site into Bathgate Music Hub, a shared resource for music organisations in the town. A community benefit lease will be put in place for a combined 4-year period to allow them to establish the hub, with an option to purchase the property at the end of that lease period. The former nursery is currently vacant and was declared surplus after it was not required for service delivery by the council. Chair of the Asset Management Committee, Deputy Council Leader Susan Mannion, said, "I'm delighted to support Bathgate Band's request to transfer the former Bathgate West Nursery in Bathgate. Bathgate Band has put forward a powerful case for their ambitious plans to create a music hub for the town. The plans have already received strong support from the local community, and I look forward to seeing the positive benefits of the hub in the future." Making asset work for the community. West Lothian Council recognises that the ownership of property assets, such as land and buildings, can contribute to the empowerment of communities. Community asset transfer involves the transfer of responsibility for an asset from the council to a voluntary or community organisation. And there's a wee postscript here. A number of organisations have or are in the process of taking over former council assets for community use, such as the Eastfield Development Centre in Fauldhouse, the Lowport Centre in Lithgow and Ammon Bank Library in Craigshill, Livingston. To find out more about community asset transfer, please visit www.westlothian.gov.uk/community-asset-transfer.
That brings us to the end of our broadcast for this week, and we hope you found it enjoyable and informative. Please put your memory stick back into the blue wallet or the yellow wallet, change the address label, and remember to post it in a postbox and not in the post office. All that remains is to send you our very best wishes for the coming weeks, and until next time, take care. So it's cheerio from Team 4.